The MPA Capstone Project Turnitin Submission. Students are required to submit their primary memorandum to Turnitin.com to assure that there are no integrity violations. Only the primary memorandum is submitted to Turnitin.com. There is a link to the college's integrity policy in week 3 of this class. Please be sure that you have read the college's integrity policy. Submission to Turnitin takes place during week 7 or week 8. If problems are encountered and an additional submission is needed, that submission may take place in week 9 or 10. The college integrity policy comprehensively identifies categories and examples of plagiarism, but the following are some common ones. One example involves copying another person's actual words without the use of quotation marks and footnotes that attribute the words to their source. Remember that it is not sufficient to footnote a set of sentences that are literally the same sentences as in the document that you're relying on. If they are literally the same sentences, that's a quotation, and you need to have quotation marks around those sentences, and then you need to cite to the page of the document you got the sentences from. A second example involves presenting another person's ideas or theories in your own words without acknowledging the source. Remember that in your policy analysis, we will not be discounting the quality of your work if you attribute ideas to other people. In fact, attributing ideas to other people can sometimes reinforce the credibility of your analysis, because then not only are you presenting this position, but you're demonstrating that it was drawn from another person who is a recognized source or expert in this field. A third example involves using information that is not common knowledge without acknowledging the source. Once again, please read the CUNY and John Jay integrity policy to be more completely informed about the possible examples of plagiarism. The capstone seminar is a special case where the MPA programs permit you to make use of your work projects and work products from other courses in the development of your capstone project. Even though you may rely on work that you developed in another course or in another project, we expect that due to the nature of the capstone project and the many special requirements in it, your primary memorandum will eventually be substantially different from a term project in any other course that you complete in the MPA program. Keep in mind that use of material that you developed for a course previously is normally not permitted by CUNY and John Jay policy unless permission is granted by the faculty member for the course in which you are now developing the project. The MPA programs permit you to do this in the capstone project, but in any other class this is not necessarily permitted, and you should, when in doubt, mention it to your professor and get permission of your professor. A special case is if you are currently involved in a class, in another class this semester, the same semester that you're taking the capstone seminar. If you are currently enrolled in another course and you would like to develop term projects on common topics, be sure to obtain permission from the professor in the other course. The reason is that because your capstone project is submitted to Turnitin.com well before the end of the semester, it is very likely that your capstone project content would show up in a Turnitin.com originality report for the other class later in the semester. The professor in the second class, the other class, may treat this as an instance of self-plagiarism, of repurposing work from another class, unless prior permission has been granted. We set the specifications for Turnitin for PAD771 so that students can see the results of their submissions before the project is finally submitted for review. The report of the results is called an originality report. If you receive a report and you have concerns about the report, discuss the concerns with your professor. We understand that common phrases may appear in documents written by authors who had not relied on each other's work in drafting the documents. When there is a result in an originality report that might be a concern, you should discuss it with your professor, because it may be enough to simply explain to your professor what you did and simply demonstrate to the professor that the work that it is similar to has no relationship to the work that you're relying on your project. So when in doubt, speak with your professor. So how does the Turnitin submission process work? Well, the first step is that your faculty member will set up a Turnitin course site and will provide students in the course with a class identification number. This is a number that corresponds to your course and section, and an enrollment password. If you do not have a Turnitin account, you must set up your own account. If you're a new user, go to Turnitin.com and click on New User. Go to New Students Start Here, click on Create New User Profile, and click on Student. The next step then is that the student accesses Turnitin.com at http://turnitin.com and logs in. Then enter your class ID number and enrollment code. Your class portfolio shows the assignments your instructor has created and your submissions to the class. To submit your project, identify the capstone project assignment and click the Submit button next to the assignment. Once you have located the file for your paper, for your primary memorandum on your computer, and you have entered a title, you can click Upload, and the file will be uploaded into the Turnitin system. Once the paper has been uploaded, the paper you chose to submit will be shown on the next page. Look over all the information and make sure that it's correct. Once you are sure, to confirm the submission, click the Submit button. After you confirm your submission, a digital receipt will be shown, and this receipt will be emailed to you. Once you return to your class portfolio, you can click on Show Details. It is a link to the right of the assignment to view the originality report for your paper. If you or your professor find, based on the originality report, that there are attribution and originality problems, you must correct them and resubmit your project to Turnitin. Major problems involving substantial use of someone else's work, even if this occurs in the draft document initially submitted to Turnitin.com, can be subject to the college's academic integrity policy. In the capstone seminar, it is permitted for you to use your own work from previous courses. For example, you may use a literature review that you previously developed for a term paper in another course. If the work is from a course that you are currently enrolled in, be sure you have permission from the professor in the other course. In summary, students are required to submit their primary memorandum to Turnitin.com to assure that there are no integrity violations. Only the primary memorandum is submitted to Turnitin.com.